try it and see if this will still work. And here is your doodah. I don't know. Let me fix that for you. Okay, there you go. Let's share music. Oh, there it is. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. As I was reading the New York Times the other day, I came upon this quote from Barack Obama. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Here, I'll do it for you. There. Everyone has something they're passionate about, something that they believe needs to change in the world. When that change happens for the good, that's called progress. Progress is something I'm very passionate about, and that's why I want to share with you about the 1970s World Fair, or as I'll be calling it, Expo 70. Let's explore Expo 70's theme, history, and what makes it such a successful World's Fair. Let's start with a mini history lesson. Let's go back to before any of us were alive. According to according to John Standing on BritiCon in 2018, it originated in Great Britain in the late 18th century to early 19th century. At the time, only France and Great Britain participated. By the time of Expo 70, though, there were 77 countries participating, according to Benjamin Swan World Atlas in 2018. By the time of Expo 70, no, the last piece of history I'm going to share with you last piece is a reminder that at the time of Expo 70, we were still in the middle of the Cold War and America had just landed on the moon the year before. With that history in mind, I'll now share with you about the theme of Expo 70. As I was reading about Expo, as I was reading about Expo 70, as I was reading, as I was reading about Expo 70 from the Tower Science Museum, I came across the theme for Expo 70, Progress and Harmony for Mankind, or as it should be said, Progress and Harmony for Humanity. This theme was very accurate for what the world was in at the time, and honestly still does. The Cold War is a great example of this because it shows how the world was divided and on it, scared that a World War III would break out. The pandemic we are living through currently is a great example of how in today's world we need harmony in a time when we're divided. The fear just enhanced the need for Expo 70 and its message. There was a tower with a sun on and sun painted and carved onto it that was to represent progress and harmony. The moon landing was also a huge step for the world, so having a rock from the moon was just such a huge thing. This theme this theme and the history are what played a part in why Expo 70 was so successful. Eric Johnson wrote this amazing article for the Japan Times back in March about Expo 70. And so I want to share with you what he had to say about it. 64 million people passed through in only 138 days, which was 14 million more than they had expected according to the New York Times in 1970. The previous World's Fair in 1964 expected 26 million to pass through in 138 days. Instead, 50 million passed through according to the Canadian Encyclopedia in 2015. These statistics show how big Expo 70 really was and how even in a time of dividedness, they, it was still such a huge thing. Johnston also talked about how early versions of the cell phones and video games were shown. As you see, the difference in cell phones, the difference in video games in the 70s versus 2020 are very different. And the first one is very simplistic, while the second one is more realistic. The difference in cell phones are also crazy. The first one is thin. You have to know people's phone number, futuristic, but in the second one, they're thin, and you never have to know somebody's phone number, or you can look up whatever you need to know. The most popular thing, though, and the one you have to stand in an 8-hour line to see, was the moon rock. The moon rock welcomes an average of 80,000 visitors per day, as Kelly Mars wrote in an article on NASA's website in March of this year. He also talked about how the moon rock was 3.2 billion years old, and only one part of the 75 pounds of material they brought back. These huge steps in the future will make Expo 70 such an interesting World's Fair to learn about. The theme, the history, I believe played a part in why it was such a successful World's Fair. Let me leave you with what I started by saying. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
So is World's Fair like?
Is the World Fair convention type?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was brought to you to like show like what technology was at the time and like how they were advancing. So yes.
Were the results of your research like what you expected, or did it surprise you?
The results of my research did surprise me. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller because of everything at the time, but I was shockingly surprised by the numbers.
Good job. Good job. No, it was a great job given how awful I would say is today. Yeah, go ahead and get situated. Okay, let me pull up your slides.
Are you gonna do the slides instead of the clicker?
I think it's better.
Alright.
Although I kind of need to know if you could click so I can hear it.
Okay.
So that I'll know to click.
Can you X out of the download thing on the bottom?
Can I what?
Can you X out of the download thing on the bottom? Yeah, okay.
All right. Will that make a difference?
Just,
I mean, you can try it yourself. Want to try it? I think the clicker doesn't. Okay, I'll just click it for you. Okay, but let me go back to that. All right. What is the hat?
What?
You have a hat on again.
Oh, right, yeah.
You don't want me to take points off.
Hat's gone. I don't know what you're talking about. I never wear a hat.
Okay. Are you ready now?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Am I recording for you?
Oh, right, yeah.